Well, from Philadelphia, we're now joined live by George Ciccariello-Maher, an assistant professor at Drexel University's History and Politics Department. Good to see you today. Thank you for coming on RT. Do you think Nicolas Maduro, is he a good fit for Venezuelans?
Well, certainly Maduro is as well prepared as anyone to continue this revolution and push it forward. The task is really going to be, can he unify this Chavista bloc? Can he draw everyone together? Chavez was really a master at doing this. He could take the left and take the center and draw them together and really maintain this unity that was necessary. But the question is going to be whether or not Nicolas Maduro is capable of doing that.
Well, regardless of who ends up filling the shoes of Hugo Chavez, how might Venezuela's foreign policy change, perhaps, under a new leader?
I actually believe that the question of foreign policy and the question of relations, especially to the United States, is one that is determined largely by the Obama administration. This was an administration that continues to fund the Venezuelan opposition, continues to express its suspicions about democratic elections, which everyone knows are perfectly democratic according to the Carter Center. And so the reality is, if the Obama administration wants to change the relationship with Venezuela, then it needs to start at home.
Well, as many know, Chavez was highly protective of the country's oil reserves, one of the biggest reserves in the world, mainly sharing a lot of it, though, with just neighbors. Do you think that policy will remain?
Well, the reality is that wasn't so much the giveaway that someone like Capriles would like to describe it as, but it was an exchange. For example, a non-market exchange with, for example, Cuba for medical technicians to work in the barrio clinics. And so that sort of thing needs to continue. So it's an essential part of Venezuelan foreign policy with regard to creating alliances that can really generate what Chavez would call a multipolar world, alliances with Russia, alliances with China, but most importantly, alliances within Latin America, the ALBA, the Bolivarian Alternative for the Americas, and free trade agreements that exclude explicitly the United States.
Well, you make a mention about it being a multipolar world. I mean, the candidates themselves have polar views, despite the problems in Venezuela all being the same. Do you think capitalism deserves a chance to try and make a difference in Venezuela?
I mean, I think capitalism had a long chance in Venezuela and failed miserably.
What about, though, knowing the circumstances, do you think that the short election campaign mean that the two candidates were perhaps picked in a bit of a rush and maybe they won't last long?
I mean, well, in the case of lasting long, I think the question is Capriles, whether or not he will be the candidate 6 years from now. That's a good question, because many see this as sort of a death sentence to run in this election that he knows he's going to lose. Maduro, on the other hand, will be elected. He'll probably, I think, only be elected for 6 years, because in the matter of 6 years, there's going to be a question of developing really a collective leadership for a process to push it forward.
All right, George Ciccariello-Maher, assistant professor from Drexel University. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on RT today. A pleasure.